There we go. There we go. Now we're live.
Okay,
Good
cool.
to see you.
Good to see you too, man.
Always a hectic time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the first of the month. It's always starting the last quarter of the year. So good vibes only.
For sure. Before we get into the subject of the day, tonight we're filming this. It's Tuesday night. Vice President debate tonight. You watching it?
I'm going to watch it probably just out of curiosity. I don't even know anymore, man. It's just, it'll be interesting to see those two debating.
Do you feel like the world's on fire, or do you think that's just hyperbole?
I don't feel the world's on fire. I think we're in an election year and we're a month out from the election. So, of course, it's going to seem like it's on fire, right? They want you to feel that way. I don't know. I don't think. I mean, look, there's a lot of shit going on in the world, I believe.
Well, Iran bombing Israel today in a significant way. Did you see? I know you've been working all day.
I didn't see that. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so. Iran launched almost 200 missiles right at the Holy Land today.
Oh, great. That'll be fun. Right before the election.
Yeah, and Biden's response to it, and anyone that's watching this, if you haven't seen it yet, go to your favorite news service, whatever that is, and look at it. But his response was pretty scary. Like, really? Just he's not. I'm not saying he's checked out intentionally. I just don't. I just think because of his compromised circumstance, he's checked out.
Well, and that's what's scary. I was listening to Rogan's podcast. The one guy, Chamath, he's an Indian guy. He's like a hedge fund guy, super smart guy, really, really good episode of this podcast. But he was talking about the election and politics, and he was saying what people aren't realizing is even 4 years ago, 3 of those superpowers did not have nukes. And he's like, and now they have nukes and they're wielding them. He's like, that's a scary. He was saying how this will be the most important election of our lifetime, because
certainly,
and he had nice things to say about both sides. He had negative things to say about. I don't think he was picking a side, but he was saying that we need to show strength in the world. We need to show. Because when you have people that are screwing around, he's like, people are looking at all these like not little issues, but these like fringe issues. They're not. He's like, the big one is the scary one is nuclear right now. He's like, and we're not talking about that. What is it? Russia has it, China has it, and Iran has it.
I think Pakistan's got them.
Yeah.
There's another superpower that's got them too. The thing that always puzzled me, and I'm the furthest thing from a geopolitical scholar. I'm just a guy,
same here,
just observing it. But all of my life, it just seems like that's probably not true. Not all my life, past couple decades. We need to get this Iran situation straightened out before they get nuclear weapons, and it just gets kicked down the road with each administration.
And here we are.
It seems like the Republican administrations are a little more stern in the Middle East. There's a bigger stick, so to speak. But to effectively say that we solve the Iranian problem, no one can say that. And and yes, I do think there's a way to solve it. We just haven't figured that out, or we weren't willing to do it yet. And that might require military action. I don't know. I'm not a geopolitical scholar. I just know that we keep kicking the can down the road.
There's a lot. Just listen to his podcast. I mean, I've always found him a fascinating guy. I can't remember or say his last name.
Right.
Just very, very intelligent, but practical, and just hearing his take on everything. And he made a good point about Trump. He said, if you look at Trump from purely a policy perspective, he's like, fantastic president.
That's what we need to do.
But what he said, he's like, it's the messenger. He's like, and then he was talking about
his ego.
Well, he said, yeah, but then he was talking about what was interesting. He was talking about how the media does it. He said, he was all liberal his whole life. And he said, the Charlottesville thing, he's like, the media played it like he said all these horrific things. He's like, then I actually went and watched the press conference. He's like, and he said, none of that, actually the complete opposite. Then he said he started getting pissed at like, what else has the media lied to us about? What can we believe anymore? Because he's like, I had lunch with both Harris and Trump. He's like, Harris was very nice, like, very nice woman. He said, Trump, same thing, very nice. He said, kind, funny. Like he definitely spoke highly of both of them. But you could see he had an affinity towards Trump without saying it. But what his whole point was, The media's job is to give us facts and let us make our decision and formulate our opinions. He's like, what I learned in that moment, we never get the facts. We get the spin the media wants to put on it. He's like, and that pissed me off so much because I started questioning everything then.
Certainly. And I think that's where I think that's where a lot of people are right now.
Yeah.
They're just questioning. And it goes to a bigger question, like, what is my reality? I can see the average guy who pays reasonable attention to things having moments of contemplation where they're actually saying to themselves, what is the actual reality? Because I don't trust the information sources that spit at me all day.
Right.
And that's a horrifying. I mean, 2 decades ago, you could never imagine being in a position like that. But in 20 quick years, look where we are.
Look at AI. I mean, AI changed the game. You can create a video of someone, like a politician, and put it out on the internet, and people will think it's real. Like, I tried the software where you can take a picture of yourself. It'll make a video of you talking.
Right.
And I did it of myself. I'm like, if you don't know, like, I could tell that wasn't me. Like, my mouth was different. It was moving differently.
But give it time.
However, if you don't know me and are in front of me on a regular basis, you may think from afar that looks like me. The voice sounded just like me. I'm like, holy shit. Like, so how do you know it's real anymore?
We're just 2, 3, 4, 5 years away from having that perfected.
Yeah. And that's where there's got to be some level of, I don't want to say gatekeeping because I hate regulation, but there has to be something. But the problem is, if we do that, other countries won't. Right? Like, China's not going to gatekeep. They're going to keep developing it, so they're going to be way ahead of us. So
they'll gatekeep it for their own people. They won't do it.
Right.
They'll spread the bullshit internationally, though.
Right. And that's the problem. I mean, we're in an interesting time. And I didn't think of the gravity of this election until I listened to that podcast, 3 hours of it. And it was just because he's such a smart guy, and I've always respected, his viewpoints. I was like, wow, this is really a very important
election. This wasn't Gad, was it?
What's that?
Sayed Gad?
No. I can't think of it.
Saeed Gad.
No, it's Chamath, like Chamath is his first name. I can't remember his name. You would know him if you saw him because he's all over like CNBC.
Yeah,
it's a big finance guy. He was in tech. But it's a great podcast, a great one. And it was just, it really showed the gravity of this election, just because of the geopolitical landscape we're in.
If someone came to you and said, Rocco, I'm so confused. I think I know what my core beliefs are, but give me some advice on how I go about the decision-making process, because I just feel completely overwhelmed by the process. How would you counsel someone in like 3 minutes in terms of like how a direction they can take to maybe decide what candidates would be more to their philosophical liking? Like, what process could they use?
So, okay, so you're saying a decision-making process in determining the candidate they would choose.
If someone's real confused right now on it. Yeah.
Well, one, you got to understand what your core beliefs are before you can make a decision. If you don't know your core beliefs, it's going to be hard to, like, don't pick a candidate because that's the side you've always picked, or that's what your family's always picked, right? You don't do that. Like, I'm a registered Republican. I probably am a libertarian. If there was a Democratic candidate that fit my belief system, not to say I wouldn't vote for them, right? I'm not voting just pure party lines.
Right.
But I think you got to, one, know what you care about. You got to know what your beliefs are and what matters to you. Some issues don't matter to me, right? Some issues don't matter to you. And I think a lot of people don't even take the time to understand what matters to them because they're not looking at their life close enough. Because you're not going to understand what matters to you until you do a deep dive and assessment into your life. And how does your life work? Who's important to you? What's important to you? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? And why do you do those things? When you start dissecting life like that, then you start to understand your core beliefs, right? Like, I believe in business. Like, my business is to serve. So I'm a servant leader. So that's important to me, helping people. That's one of my core values, being kind. But had I not broken that down and figuring out, like, what do I do as a lawyer? Like, what do I fundamentally do? I serve others. It's not about making money. It's not about completing a transaction. It's truly about serving the client. So that's one of my core beliefs, being a good person. So I think people need to look at their life in a way where they really start breaking it down to the fundamentals. But it's a hard process to do, and most people don't have time to do it or want to even take the time to do it.
Well, I think it's also uncomfortable for many people to
Yeah.
dig that deeply. I mean, at points in this world has been along my journey, it's been uncomfortable too. It's just natural.
Yeah.
But until you're spot on, until I believe, until you can honestly look in the mirror and say, these are the 4, 5, 6, 7 tenets that I believe in.
Yeah.
And then understand them and how they interrelate. That's a whole nother thought process.
Yeah. Even getting down to a fundamental 3. Like I always say, if you can get to 3 fundamental things you believe,
it's hard.
Like even in our firm, like that, we got our 3 core values. You know, me as a human being, I have more than 3, but I know what my top 3 would be. But you really have to understand, because if you don't know that about yourself, I believe you're walking through life half blind. Because you're just going through the motions. There's no intention behind what you're doing.
No question.
When you understand what your core beliefs are and your core values are, and not saying whether they're right or wrong, but understanding what those are, then you operate in accordance with them. Then you're doing things intentionally.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. It's almost like, and I didn't invent this phrase, but it's like you're careening from wall to wall, hoping to get to the other side.
Well, yeah, you can see that with people when they don't understand their fundamental belief structures or their belief system or what matters to them.
Their personal philosophy.
Yeah, they're just kind of just in the way they talk and the way they interact with people. You can see that they really don't know, and they're just kind of going where the wind blows. And to me, and I'm sure we've all been like that at one point in our life.
Yeah.
When we're younger, we don't know any better. But once you kind of figure out, it makes life a lot easier to navigate.
Well, the subject I wanted to hit with you today is a direct bridge from this. It's like, have you ever noticed that we really are, as a society, at least I can speak for just American society, we're really wrapped up in the cult of personality. We really are fascinated. We give our attention to, we sometimes give our loyalty to personalities, and sometimes personalities over substance. And the merging of this big entertainment personality, the cult of personality, has now gone into politics over the past 30 years, 35 years, because of probably the way media is and how we now entertain ourselves, and the news becoming entertainment. It's all kind of amalgamated now. Where politicians are celebrities. Politicians are in that cult of personality chasm that we've always had entertainers in. It's now one big soup. And I don't think it's healthy. We're really drunk on it.
Well, what's interesting, it's a great song called Personality, by the way. Living Color. Great song. That same podcast, that's one of the fundamental points he made, is why the media hates Trump. He said, because Trump is entertaining. He's an entertainer. He said he knows how to control a crowd. He can talk to people. He can make people laugh. He's really funny.
He
can work a room, and they hate that, because most politicians the media can control. He doesn't let that happen. And I was like, that's because he was an entertainer, right? I mean, he was a businessman. Then he had The Apprentice, and he was in movies. So he has that.
He's always been in a worker room.
40
years.
And that's what they hated about him. Once they couldn't, before he ran for politics, everybody loved him. Once he ran for politics, they couldn't control him anymore because he was the entertainer now. It totally changed the dynamic. But I do think people are, we're in this cult of personality because we make personality so easy to witness with social media now, with the internet, with just the increase of TV channels and news channels. We can, personality's at the forefront. The substance isn't.
So we have elevated the importance of personality to the front.
I mean,
which is insane.
Well, I was watching Gutfield last night on Fox, and they were talking about the debate tonight, and they weren't talking about anything really substantive. They were like, he looks like, his face is too fat to have a beard, and Walls looks like a dressed up baby. I'm like, they're not even talking about so it's about their personalities or looks. We make it about that instead of talking about, like, what are they substantively about? What are their fundamental beliefs? And I think because people don't care. We want to be entertained, and the personality is entertaining. The beliefs and the substance isn't. It's scary.
It's to me, it's so uber shallow.
Why do you think we are where we are in this country? Like, think about it. I mean, truly, there's a level of shallowness, vanity that I think everybody has. Some people just have it a lot more than others.
But it comes down to prioritization of what's important, right? I mean, you know, we all have a level of ego and vanity and all that stuff. We're always looking, well, most of us anyways, looking to be entertained on occasion. All of us, we need that. But damn it, when you have to have your priorities in life, you know, when you understand and create the pecking order, you know, the cult of personality should not be at the top.
No, and the problem is most people don't prioritize life. They prioritize moments in life.
Okay.
So instead of knowing, like, in my life in general, these are my top priorities. Most people say, today, my priorities are, or in this moment, my priorities are, instead of looking at the big picture.
That's a big one.
That's how I think is part of the problem,
That's
right? Because if you
now,
know,
why is that though? Why do we do that?
Because it's easier to do that. It's easier to look in smaller chunks of time.
Okay.
That's how I think. Because understanding your priorities in life, you have to, you know, act in accordance with that on a day-to-day basis. You're looking bigger questions, longer term vision. Prioritizing the day, it's like, I gotta think about it today. Tomorrow, I'm not even worrying about it. But I know that I have priorities. Like, if I look from a business perspective, right? Our firm, we want to grow to 100 lawyers in 10 years. That's a big goal. That's a big, big goal. That means if that's one of my priorities, everything I do now has to be in alignment with that.
Serve that.
I can't think about serving today.
Yeah.
I have to think about serving the vision 10 years from now, and then reverse engineering the things I'm doing to make sure it fits. It's a harder process. It's a lot more thought. There's a lot more depth to the thought.
Oh, certainly.
Most people don't want to do that because it's easier to go day by day.
Even though when you do it that way, you've got no roadmap.
No.
You're literally just breaking the road every day.
Yeah, and again, I think people, I think they don't understand the importance of having a roadmap, but also I think they think if they don't have a roadmap, there's no sense in trying to find, or if they can't figure it out, there's no sense in trying. Like, is it
an excuse?
Yeah,
a built-in excuse.
Yeah, it's just take the next step. Like I've said that a million times. Like, if you don't know where you're going to end up, but you know you're going in this direction, can you see the next thing you need to do? Just do that. If you know it's the direction you're going, so you do need some level of a roadmap.
Absolutely.
Like, you do need to know, okay, I want to go this way. I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. There's a bunch of shit in the way.
Take action.
But I can see where my foot has to go next.
Right.
And I'll take that step, and then the vision becomes clear and the field becomes like, that's when I started.
That takes a belief. That takes a belief.
You're right. 100%.
And a level of courage,
belief, a level of craziness. I do believe
discipline.
The thing I think people underestimate the most about entrepreneurs or people in the world that do big things is the level of craziness they have. Because I mean, you really have. Because I thought about it recently, quite deeply. You have to have a level of crazy. Like, when I look back at my journey, right, I just left a job. They paid good money.
Oh yeah,
and I said, I'll just figure it out. Like, that takes a level of crazy.
We share a similar vision there, man.
You know, and it's one of those things where, like, you can't underestimate. You got to have a little bit of crazy edge to you to do big things. Because if not, you're going to play it safe your whole life.
That's exactly right. It takes an insane belief / delusion in one's ability that they're going to be okay if things go to hell.
Yeah.
And that was me. It was like, I know that I in my head, I believe I could sell snow to the Eskimos. And if this doesn't work out, this crazy guitar thing on this interweb thing doesn't work out, I'll just go get another job.
Yeah.
I will be fine. I'll always find a way.
Yeah, that's exactly
what I believed. Maybe I was lying to myself. I don't know, but that's what I believe.
Yeah.
And that gave me the freedom to take additional chances.
100%.
Mentally.
Yeah. And I think I said it a lot to myself, even though I didn't really believe it until I said it.
Right.
Because you're kind of like, I remember just leaving corporate. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to start a law firm, but I believe I can figure it out. That's what I kept telling myself. Meanwhile, I'm shitting my pants most days.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's the money coming from? Every month you start at zero. It's like, oh shit. Like, I don't know where, I don't have a paycheck. I was so used to having a paycheck my entire career. 15th and 30th, I got paid. That's when I paid my bills. It was systematic. Leaves like, well, that stopped, but I'll figure it out. And I just kept telling myself that. Meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm like, dude, what did you do? What did you do? But then you start seeing the results, right? You start seeing a little forward progress. Then that belief gets a little bit stronger. You get that momentum. And where I think people go wrong is they let the momentum stop. I think even if you're crawling, just keep crawling forward. Like, the moment you stop, it's so much harder to build up momentum. Like, even when, like, I tell people in the firm, like, even when it comes to marketing, right? What I've done consistently since I started the firm has just been consistent. I didn't do many things. I didn't do crazy amount. I just was consistent week after week after week, and it pays off. But and there were times where I stopped, took so much longer to build back.
It always does.
So just keep moving forward. That's it in life. If you just keep the momentum going, no matter how slow it is, you'll get where you're going.
Well, since we're on that subject too, I think another delusion people have about entrepreneurship that I think is incorrect, that is a delusion, is that you need to have everything figured out. Like, people see other people that they perceive having success in entrepreneurship, and they assume that they have and have always had everything figured out. And here I am over here at this crazy idea, but I don't have anything figured out. Like, I can't take that risk. Because they assume everyone else has got it figured out.
Right. No, there's no. I didn't have shit. I still don't have stuff figured out. I've been doing this for 5 years now. And again, like, I have friends that always say, like, it must be nice. I'm like, must be nice. Must be nice. Were you up in the middle of the night with me when I was like scared shitless? How am I going to do it? How am I going to make it? Where's the money going to come from? How am I going to support everybody? How am I going to make this work? Like, you don't have it all figured out. I still don't have. I've had this firm now 5 years. I still don't have it. I'm just figuring shit out. I feel like that is the biggest fallacy, I think, when it comes to entrepreneurship, because you figure out along the way, and you're constantly adjusting.
Why is that so hard for people to believe? I think that's hard for people that don't do it, that are considering doing it, to believe that, I'll be able to learn and figure it out as I go, and everything will be okay.
It's a lack of belief in themselves. That's really what it is. Because again, it goes back to what you said. You have to have this unwavering belief in yourself. You have to have courage, and you have to have craziness.
Got to have the crazy.
You have to have the crazy, right? Because if you go from being employed by an employer where I come in, I do my job, I do well, I get paid twice a month, every other week, whatever the case may be, to I'm just going to figure it out and I'll be okay. That is a big level of risk, especially if you're supporting a family, right?
100%.
You're supporting a family. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to stop working for this company. I'm going to stop having money coming regularly. I'm just going to go out and find clients to pay me money to do things for them. That's kind of what I did. I'm like, okay, well, how do I do that? Well, don't know. Figure it out. And you start talking to people. But I had that level of crazy. Like, I had to be crazy to do it.
Yeah. And it's like,
and there's never a right time. Like, people always want the right time. There's never a right time.
See, I even go with that cult of personality thing. I think it stretches to entrepreneurship, because I think the people that are thinking about doing it on the bubble, they look and they do buy into the personality of these entrepreneurs, and they see personalities that might be vastly different than theirs.
Yeah.
And they think that the difference means they can't do it, because I'm not like them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's a million different ways. I mean, how many entrepreneurs do you know, successful folks that have a variety of personalities?
Oh, every one of us has different
There's threads that are the same when you dig deep, but there's a variety.
Yeah, I feel like there's always a common thread or two that all entrepreneurs
most
have.
Definitely.
But they all have,
introverts.
Actually, that's it. Batshit crazy. And it's really what you said. It's the courage, the crazy, and the unwavering belief. You really to start a business from scratch, not go out and buy a business, not inherit a business, but literally start a business from thin air, like what you did, like what I did. No one handed you a guitar business. You're like, I'm going to
Mhm.
just sell guitars on eBay. You figured out, and it was a very successful business. I said, only lawyer in my family, don't know how to start a firm, don't teach that. Let me start a law firm. No one handed it to me. You build it out of thin air, right? You have to have those three things.
Yeah, that's an exciting thing. And that's like when you create something that exists and makes money,
Yeah.
and other people interact and create livelihoods out of
Yeah.
it, or buy products that they dig or whatever, and it came out of just an idea in your
Yeah.
brain, and it becomes a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
That is, and I've always said this for the last 20, 25 years, that is probably the most rewarding thing.
Yeah.
It's creating this thing out of nothing.
Yep.
Really.
No, I mean, I still have those moments when it's surreal. Like I'll walk into,
I bet.
like, you know, when I
I
started,
bet.
it was a solo practitioner, but now I walk in there, you know, big office, glass doors, name on the wall, and you know, there's 10 people there now.
Mhm.
And there are moments where I have to take a step back. I'm like, huh, oh, we created
But at
this.
least you're doing that. You're taking
Yeah,
a step back.
yeah.
I early on my story,
hard to
I
do.
didn't do it.
I
I
know.
didn't really
I just started doing it.
breathe in and dig it, you know?
Yeah, I just started doing it because again, this year's been a hard year. It's been like not stressful. It's just been like
sure.
overwhelming, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah, of
And
course.
that's when you take a step back and I'm like, wow, like I'm surrounded by really cool people that, you know, are smart, that, you know, are trusting in me. Like they put their trust in me. Like just some random guy that started a law firm. They're like, I'm going to work for this guy.
Right.
And to me, like that is a huge responsibility I hold.
Oh,
Take Matt. When Matt left a big firm to take a bet on me, like that was a ballsy move on his part. And I'll never forget that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the loyalty in that, like I'll never forget that because that was just someone betting on me. So like I take that very
It's a
seriously.
huge responsibility.
And I'll never let that responsibility leave me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like he took a chance when he was young in his career, young wife betting on me. I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. So it's like, you know, so I'm better figure it out. But that's what's so cool about it. Like it is like when you see the fruits of your actions and you see it helping people and you see, you know, just what you're doing impact on a larger scale. Like that's a really cool thing.
It is, and it's so fun to articulate it. But when you're speaking to like-minded entrepreneurs, you can see how they feed off of it. But when you're speaking that to people that are not entrepreneurs, you can see how there's a disconnect. It's almost like
they don't get it.
There's two different languages.
Yeah, there is.
That's unfortunate.
It is, but it's okay because you need people to work. You need workers.
It has to be, yeah.
Because I think like friends I have that aren't entrepreneurs, like they'll you know, we'll have discussions and they'll say things. Why are you working on the weekends? Why are you doing this? To me, I just tell them that I love it. I'm not working. I'm running my business.
Plus, that's a price you pay for all that your business gives you.
Right. Exactly. There are trade-offs.
Everything has a cost.
Everything has a cost, right? You have rents due. You have to pay the rents. If I want to live the life I live, I have to put in the time and the effort. And again, like I feel very fortunate to be surrounded by the people, to have my son work with me every day.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's the greatest feeling in the world. Just knowing that he works with me, he's there, he's doing a great job, like he's smart, like everybody likes him. Like that's a cool thing, right? And I built that and I get to have him there. And like the other people in the office, like it's really, but you have to make sacrifices to have that.
Yeah.
And it's a life that I wouldn't trade for anything, you know, even with the ups and downs. And, you know, I think I read a statistic recently, like they said, only less than 1% of businesses ever make over 7 figures.
Wow.
Like I think maybe 1% of businesses started make over 7 figures. I'm like, well, we're in that 1%. It's kind of cool.
No doubt.
Like if that's a true statistic, because again, you know, not all statistics are right, but if that is a true statistic, like that's pretty cool to know. You know, in a few short years, we made it into that 1% through sheer grit and determination.
So they're saying to earn $1 million.
Yeah, to generate revenue over $1 million, they said about 1%.
Is that annually?
Annually, yeah,
Okay.
annually.
Yeah, I never made that. I came
Yeah.
close one year, but
it's crazy. And I know that 'cause there are a lot of clients I have that are great businesses, but they're between that 500 to 800,000 a year. You know, because that's good. Like, they don't want to grow anymore.
Well, it's good when you're a one-person operation.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I thought I died and gone to heaven.
When you got a 10 to 12 person operations, it's a little bit different. You got to make a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But it's cool to just, and that's probably why people get caught up in the cult of personality. They see people's successes,
Yes,
but they don't understand what it took to get there.
There's a huge disconnect there.
Huge
disconnect.
And that's also social media's fault, right? A lot of people don't show the hard work. They want people to see, like, look at all this life I live now, all these cool things I get to do and traveling. But like, there's a grind behind it. It's hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
It's not really an illusion, because so many people have really accomplished this and enables them to live this way. But it's not the full picture.
No, not at all.
It
is the hardest thing you will ever do.
It's just like a snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a photo book of their life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a highlight reel. That's what it is. It's a highlight reel. It really is.
And we live by highlight reels now.
Yeah. But I mean, I try and share some of but I can probably do a better job at like sharing more of the downs or the challenges. I don't always do that. I could definitely do more of that. I try and talk about it sometimes.
But does the average person want to see that?
I don't know. I think
that's a good question.
That's a great question. I think they probably don't, but they should. Because
that takes emotional work.
It does.
You know what I mean? On both sides, the receiver and the presenter.
Oh yeah, it's hard to talk about your failures and the challenges. Like I
don't find it hard.
Well,
I actually love it. Actually,
so maybe hard is the wrong word. It takes a level of vulnerability.
Sure.
You have to be comfortable.
Humility.
With. Yeah, you have, because like I've screwed up a lot in my career. Like I mess something up every day. Like it's hard. Like, because there's no manual. Like there's no book that you get. Here's what you do. Face this challenge. Here's what you do. You just kind of figure out as you go. So it is definitely a humbling experience. And I've even talked to people that I thought were like wildly successful, and they have the same struggles I do. And that's why I think people need to talk more about it. Mm-hmm. Because I know myself as an entrepreneur, there have been entrepreneurs that I've respected and looked up to. I'm like, this person's got it all figured out. Like, they just look like they take a shit and a gold bar comes out. And I talk to them like, nope, the world is on fire. I'm like, really? And the same problems I'm facing, maybe on a grander scale. Mm-hmm. So it's really, it almost gives you this sense of comfort in the uncomfort you're living in.
1,000,000%.
And I think that's why I think it's so important to share that.
Bingo. And that's why I've said, and it was not an original idea for me. It certainly came from Jim Rohn, but he used to say, we have this self-improvement industry all wrong. We are paying the wrong people. You shouldn't be paying me or Zig or anyone else up here on the stage. We should be going out and searching out and finding the people that just messed it all up. Yeah. It's a benefit if they actually turned it around. That's great. But even if they didn't, find the people who had everything. Yeah. All these opportunities, messed it all up, and then pay them good money to come up and bare their soul and tell the world how they had it all laying out in front of them. Yeah. And they just messed it, and ultimately missed the opportunity. Yeah. Pay those people.
Oh, 100%.
That's where the lesson's at.
Yeah, 100%.
Not like, look how, here's my Ferrari, here's my, McMansion. Here's
Well, and it's interesting too, because there's a kid I follow on social media. It's like the school of something, but he travels around the country and asks people how they made their money.
I've seen that,
and he's got a really good demeanor, and it's almost like every person he talks to, he says, have you been broke before? And every single person says, yep, absolutely,
multiple times.
And I think truly, because not that I've been broke, but there's been times where it's been like really tight, and you're like, holy shit, like where's the money coming from? I think you have to feel that.
Yes.
If you never feel that, if you never feel that worry of how am I going to pay my bills, like you have to be the more I think about it, and the more people I talk to really be successful as an entrepreneur, you have to feel that. You have to feel that holy shit moment.
Yeah, you need to know both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
And it's like in business, there's two sides of the equation. You're in the black or in the red.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the red, you won't appreciate the black.
No, exactly
and,
right.
And vice versa.
Yes.
You know, you can't go 20 years in the red and never taste the black because you may never get there.
Right. That's exactly right. That's
I think in the end,
mm-hmm.
You talk about having belief in yourself. To me, that belief comes from a want. You got to want something, some journey, some path, whatever the trigger is in your brain, or something that's happened to you negatively that you just won't tolerate that anymore. And you're going to make a change and do this.
Yeah.
You got to have that want, and it's undefinable. Like you can't tell me what wants I need to get me charged up to do something, and vice versa. No one can do that except the individual.
Right.
And that's the hard part, because that's where I think the core oftentimes, where the entrepreneurial attitude starts right there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I think your wants change over time, right? As you develop as an entrepreneur,
timing's everything.
You gain more wisdom. Like I know when I first got into business, I'm like, I always want to make a bunch of money and build wealth. Now, to me, wealth is the byproduct. Like to me, it's about legacy now, creating something different. My purpose,
that
exactly. I evolved into it,
yeah,
because I started looking at the world differently. But when I first started, it's like I want to create wealth. I want to build wealth, make money.
Little levels of success will give you a different viewpoint.
Exactly, but you have to be willing to look and change your perspective. Most people, when they say it's about money, it's just about money, and they put their foot on the gas and make a bunch of money.
Be happy with that.
No, and I realize that too. Like it's not, because if you're focused on money, you aren't really happy, because when is enough? I'm not saying I have enough now, but it's more of I want to create something so big and so different that changes so many things that, when I leave this earth, it'll live on past me.
Right.
Like that's what it's really about. And that's what gets me out of bed.
And everybody needs that.
Yes.
That one thing that, I mean, sometimes it's just making payroll this 1 week. That's why I'm going to get out of bed today. That's fine.
Right.
If that's your reason, if that's your thing.
Yeah.
When I started, I remember I went to dinner with my wife at the time, and I told her I was going to do this. And of course, she was real supportive. She was. The rest of our family and friends thought we were insane.
Yep.
But she asked me a question. I'll never forget this. She goes, well, why do you want to do this? Do you know why you really want to do this? And I go, no, I'm just having fun selling these guitars part-time, and I'm making so much money. I mean, why should I go? First thing I said to her was, why should I go to work and have someone tell me what to do? And she goes, so maybe that's the reason. Maybe you don't like, maybe you want to, you make your own decisions. And I said, yeah, that could be part of it. And then I realized that I need to dig and find out exactly why I want to do this. Is it no boss? Is it, whatever, my own schedule, whatever. And it came down for me that I really wanted to follow in some weird way my father's footsteps of him making his own life and setting his own course, his own path.
Yeah.
I wanted that because I grew up with that. You see, no matter how much success or attaboys I was getting or compensation at this company, I still had a structure that someone else created that I had to fit into and maneuver in. And that was the core of why I was so passionate to go that direction. That didn't come to me right away. I really had to unwind that and have some good conversations with people who were asking the right questions. But once I had that why, I knew that's why I'm doing this. It just took a little while to figure that out.
It's that self-assessment you have to do.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, it was, I wanted to be in control of my destiny. And I was in an organization where no matter what I did, I couldn't control the outcome. I was just a lawyer.
Right on.
I couldn't control. I kind of knew what had to be done, but I couldn't control.
Did you feel your income was capped?
My income was definitely capped. I mean, I made a good salary and I got bonuses, but my bonuses, a big portion of it was tied not to my performance, to the company performance.
Out of your control.
We have people that are in the company that shouldn't be in the company, but I can't control that. So to me, it was about, I wanted to control my own destiny.
Certainly.
And I was willing to jump and make nothing to control what I could make in the long run. But then as I evolved, it was about, okay, I want to build wealth. And then it was like, no. I want to create a legacy. And now I get to control my destiny, but that's not the reason why I do it. The reason is I believe we're creating something different. I believe that we are going to be something to be talked about someday.
You work on purpose. That's the one thing. And I don't say that lightly, because I do think a lot of entrepreneurs say they work on purpose, but if you dig down deep enough, they're really rooted in more surface level things, like money, like freedom, and so forth. But you work on purpose, in that you are trying to redefine the way law is done, especially business law, and that difference and that change is integral to everything else that you do, which makes you different, which then brings new adventures, within the scope of what you're doing. Am I right?
It definitely does. Yes.
Okay, so working on purpose is something that oftentimes doesn't come to the entrepreneur right away. You've got to actually dig down, because it may not reveal itself in a while. Like I didn't find my purpose for my business until my son was born. It revealed itself to me. Like, obviously I have to take care of him and all that stuff, but it was like, look at the quality time I got with this kid. All my friends are going to work and they're juggling childcare and all this, and my child's never going to see childcare ever. Between my ex-wife and I and us working together, this child's never going to see, and childcare is fine. But for us, we were able to avoid that through flexibility, freedom, and where our past took us. That became my purpose, was that, and then his sister. That was important to me. That was the quote unquote purpose, which superseded all the other crap that was happening.
You know exactly it, man. I mean, I remember when I figured out it was legacy for me. It was when we got like logo sweatshirts, like hoodies, and I remember that we ordered some, and we had a really small one, and I gave it to Ellie, and she put it on, and I just saw a look on her face, like she was proud. And I was like, that's what it's about. It's about the legacy. Like I want these kids to someday say, my dad created this, and it leaves a mark on the world. And that to me is when it kind of knew I was going, but it really hit me just seeing, when they put that shirt on and just their face, like being proud that was their last name on that shirt. Like that's when it hit me. Like this is important. Like I have to, and I get things wrong, and I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but I know what my purpose is, and I'm just trying to move towards that every day. And that was that moment. I still remember, I remember Ellie's face, and it was a couple of years ago, and she just put it on.
You always remember that,
and it was just like, and that was a turning point for me. That's when I knew exactly what the purpose was. And then I'm like, I got to figure some shit out.
That's almost what we just talked about here in the past 3 minutes. Is almost impossible to fully articulate to a new entrepreneur in a way that they will find some gravity in it, because you've got to kind of get to that point.
You do.
The journey's got to take you to that aha moment. You'll get it. But it needs to reveal itself.
Exactly. You have to be looking for it. You have to.
Do you?
Well, I think if you're so focused on money in the image of success, it's not going to reveal itself. To me, I was past the point of worrying about money. It was like, why are we doing this? And then it was just in that, and that's when I was starting to understand it, but I didn't fully have it articulated. Like, I want to create something big. I didn't know why I wanted to do that. Then in that moment, it was,
but why?
It's the legacy. It's like I saw her face, and I could still. And
there was your why.
And Ellie will always have that impact on me. Like I just saw that on her face, and it was like, that is exactly why I'm doing it. And I want them to be proud.
Needs to happen. Those are the moments, and that's where journaling has always helped me, because some of those moments are fleeting. Like at that moment, you felt a lot of gravity. That was almost an instant thing. And you really, it was like someone like popped you in the chest.
Exactly what it was. 100%.
Yeah. For me, it was like my son was born, I there wasn't that immediate moment, but over the course of writing every day and looking at that, and then seeing as he grew a little bit in the flexibility in the schedule, like this is my purpose. That 10 grand here and 20 grand here and all this stuff was fun. And, that's great. But this is why I pursue that.
That's exactly right.
See? When you start tying that together, it gives more meaning. And again, these are interesting conversations, and maybe it will. I don't think it'll resonate with most brand new entrepreneurs, but it should excite them to a degree that there is moments along the journey that are waiting out there for me.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just have to create them.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. And once you come to that moment, everything changes. Like I know for certain that moment in that, and I remember standing in my kitchen. And I still remember the moment. It changed everything for me. And no one would have known, because I went about normal. Like, no, I was like, oh, that was the turning point for me. Like it didn't like, oh my God, I figured it out. It was just in my brain. I saw her, I saw the look, and I knew, like, that's why. And I just said, and I told myself, I'm operating differently. I have to figure some stuff out, because this is about something bigger than everything I thought it was. Well, and that was the moment.
Would you not agree too that if you already are a person who writes and contemplates and thinks deeply, those moments have way more juice, and those moments have way more opportunity to have an impact on your life?
Absolutely.
Because you're ready for them.
Yes.
You are emotionally and mentally ready to absorb those, to ingest them the moment they happen.
100%.
You won't miss them.
No, I couldn't agree more.
You
Absolutely right.
But you gotta, it's almost like you have to do the homework. You got to prepare yourself as a human, as an entrepreneur, so you can be receptive to them. Yeah,
because the journey is a wild roller coaster. And you have to be mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared. Like in the physical piece is the part I didn't realize, like, how important that is as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, man.
Like, it's like I've really have taken my health seriously over the past, year and a half, and it's made me so much better, so much more. Not that I wasn't healthy before; I was always working out, but like I really looked at it this year, like the supplements I take, the way I work out, the foods I eat, and just making sure that I'm operating and recovering. And it's truly changed the game for me. It's made me more mentally focused, more clear, be able to do more. And that is something that I would tell every entrepreneur, whether you're starting out or deep into it. If you're not focused on your physical health, focus on it for 6 months. I guarantee your business will exponentially grow.
Well,
just as a byproduct of it.
Well, I mean, isn't it basically a lot of people don't do well because they don't feel well?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right.
I mean, that's so interconnected.
Well, yeah, I was talking to a potential client. I think it was late last week, and we were kind of talking about health. We just got into the topic of health and fitness, and they had said that they were talking about lawyers in particular. They said, I would not hire an out of shape lawyer. They said, because if they don't take care of themselves and they're sloppy, they're going to be sloppy with my work. And I was like, didn't think about it that way, but that's a great point. Like, not just appearance wise, but just how you physically show up, your physical health. And I'm like, yeah, like, and then I started thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, there have been times where I've been in meetings or in negotiations with lawyers that are out of shape. And in my head, I'm like, I'm going to walk circles around this person because I'm just mentally sharper. Like, they may be more experienced and smarter than me, but I can wear them down because I have the stamina to do it. And I would just do that, subconsciously thinking that.
No, health is everything, and the older one gets, the more priority.
Yeah,
it should be.
Yeah, absolutely,
because it directly affects energy and stamina and all the things you want to do. And I am a person approaching 60, and I laugh and I say, oh, I feel my age, but I have those around me saying that, they're amazed at all the things I'm involved with and the pace I'm going. And that's the reaffirmation I need to hear, because I'm doing the best I can to live as vibrantly as I can, and that is not specific to me or my age. That to me is a mentality I kind of wish I would have had in the 30s.
Same here.
Do you know what I mean?
I just said that to myself like a week ago. I said, man, if I would have known what I know now about the importance of, because again, like, I've always worked out and like lifted weights and done that,
but there's more to that.
There's so much more to that. I said, if I would have just taken a little bit more care of myself in my 30s, how much farther along would I be? But I can't.
There's no regrets.
2020. There's no regrets. Like, okay, but I'm here now. And how do I make the best of the rest?
Because everything that you went through got you to this point. So that's that whole metaphysical.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But
you're
it's
100%
like,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just laugh because our business world in America has incredible people in it,
Mhm.
entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
people that started amazing companies,
Yep.
real high quality, dynamic
Mhm.
individuals. Those are the people that should be holding political office.
I agree.
Do
Yes.
you see what I mean? Like,
Yes, I agree.
not exclusively. We
Yeah.
should have some people from the medical community,
Yeah.
the law community, the
Yeah.
engineering community, but these professionals
Mhm.
who have dedicated themselves to study and to
Mhm.
civility in the way
Yeah.
they operate
Yeah.
amongst themselves, right?
Yeah.
That idea of being a professional matters. That's the kind of I don't know, etiquette that they would bring to this house in Washington,
Yeah.
D.C., these chambers. Yet we are not
Mhm.
universally represented by these people.
No, it would bring
It's-
some composure to the situation as well.
Yeah, like we've lost our way in regards to
Mhm.
what we demand from our politicians.
Yeah, I'm optimistic though. I think people understand the gravity of what's going on right now, and I think
We're going to see.
I think there will be a shift in this country.
Oh, I mean, I have no problem saying it. I am not, and have never been, a fan of Donald Trump, the personality.
Sure.
I'm just not. I think he's coarse. I think
Yeah.
he's, at times, is distasteful,
Mhm.
but also a denial of the truth and inactivity on very important things that Joe Biden shows is
Mhm.
equally as distasteful, even though
Yeah.
he's not outwardly as coarse. Does it make any sense?
Yeah,
If
makes
you
complete
look
sense. Yeah,
deeper,
100%.
right?
Yep.
So, from a philosophical standpoint, I personally am praying
Yeah.
that the country makes a change and we go in Trump's direction
Yeah.
for the philosophy of it,
Yeah.
for the business of it, the organization of it,
Yeah.
the direction that I
Yeah.
hope the country will take. That's the extent of what I mean. People want to know who I'm voting for. Because of the philosophy,
Yeah.
the conservative philosophy, the moderate conservative philosophy, generally, that's where I'm at with it.
But when you have Tulsi and Robert Kennedy siding with him, to me that shows that
There's an openness on his
there's
behalf.
an openness on his behalf
Yes.
to look at things. And I think the fear people have is that the powers that be may be exposed. Because truly, if Kennedy gets in and starts looking at the food industry and the medical industry, like the stuff he did as a lawyer,
Mhm.
and he starts looking at that, like that's going to cause some big problems for lobbyists. Like, why are we the only country that allows certain additives to food? Like these dyes and these additives, like that's crazy to me. Like I didn't realize that until I started like looking at it.
Yeah. It goes to another question, which we really are overdue to do a capitalism podcast on here.
Yeah.
But it goes to that thing about human nature and
Mhm.
and money and greed, and we're both capitalists
Yeah.
completely, and I don't like regulation either. I just don't like it. But there has to be a way to encourage successful capitalists not to be ultra greedy at the expense of other humans. And I don't know how we do that. I'm not going to sit and say
No,
that there's
I-
a way
no,
to.
there's
But I mean, you'd like to
conscious
see,
capitalism.
you'd like to see a way to encourage that, to
Yeah.
propel that,
Yeah.
because at its core, what you just said
Yeah.
is the result of greed above everything else.
Absolutely right.
And how do we move from that to something more healthy for all of us? You know what I mean?
It comes down to us, the consumers, making different decisions.
Are we informed enough to do it?
That's where so it takes level of information, but then we have to change behavior, because if we keep buying it, they'll keep selling it.
Well, in that, to your point, 1,000,000%. And and quite frankly, if we don't care enough about ourselves,
Right.
our physical being, our weight,
That's
our
exactly
mental,
right.
our mental acuity,
Mhm.
everything else,
Yeah.
then we're not going to make those. We're gonna continue to make
Yeah.
the sloppy choice,
Yeah.
which puts tons of money in other people's pockets and destroys our own health.
Yeah. I mean, as I sit here and drink an energy drink that probably has additives in it, but I mean, I can admit that, but I think, like I think we could make better choices as a country. I think once you start, look, I'm not perfect. I eat shitty food sometimes, but I try and make better choices for the most part. And I think if more people did that and took better, stock of their life and their health, you started making a little bit, not everything, just like make a couple different choices. the industries would be impacted in a way where they may have to start changing.
1,000,000%.
But we're not doing that because we're not educated enough to do that. We're not
But it's
educating the populace
fascinating
enough.
to me that not just Europe, Asia, even
All these countries.
even South America, even the South American continent. I mean, those countries, some of those countries have better ingredients in their processed food than we do.
A lot of them don't even have processed foods.
Well, you know what I mean? The manufactured food.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right.
Bagged food, canned food.
Yeah, I mean, you hear people that that go to Italy and lose weight and they eat bread and pasta because again they're walking more into it. There's no additives in it. There's none of this other shit that we put in it. Today, like fillers and things like that drive costs down. That people would tend to feel better eating foods over there.
Yeah, we need it's like almost like a responsibility shift, not just with the consumer, but with the manufacturer, the provider, that you still can make a really great living and make a lot of money, but by doing the socially responsible thing. It's like, can't they both be in alignment?
They can, but I think it's also a slippery slope, right? You've got to find a balance, and it's hard because you don't want to regulate.
No,
you want to encourage, but how much do you encourage? You don't want people to now game the system. It's very hard.
Yeah, well, because at that point you're trusting human nature.
Right.
At that point, you're saying, okay, these 100 executives, we're hoping that 95 of them do the quote unquote right thing, because we know 5 or 10% are just not going to.
Exactly right. We'll see, man.
All right, man. We have hey, if you haven't watched it, I think it's on at 9 o'clock tonight.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah, it's 2 hours. I'm gonna go work out and then go watch the debate, man.
Good luck with you. Let me know tomorrow what's going. I won't make it. As always.
Yes.
We'll see you next week.
Yep. That's a good one, man.